So the fall, really not much is running through your mind except for like, stay alive, stay alive, stay alive. Yeah, high school was, I think, like everybody else, you know, it has its ups and downs. At that point in my life, my dream was to make movies. I love movies, wanted to make them, write them, edit them. I lost a lot of friends, didn't have very many going into that summer. I was kind of just on the outskirts trying to figure out what to do, very upset. So I drove and I picked up Cameron, about a 5-10 minute drive from DQ. So we drive there. The plan was just to go on for like a hike for like an hour and then probably make our way back, maybe get like a coffee or something. It wasn't meant to be like a very long endeavor as it became. Along the path, just talking about things going on with work and in our lives. And then the ground pretty much broke beneath us as we were looking around and walking. And wasn't that much. So I was on the outskirts of the path. It's a very thin path, but I'm standing on the left side closest to the gorge and she's on the right. So as the ground broke off just a little bit, it only broke off a little bit underneath my foot, but I did lose my footing, and that's why I slid and fell down. So for most of the fall over the gorge, it's a lot of trees and branches everywhere and rocks. So I actually was lucky enough to catch myself kind of in like a half slide, half run, where I was like sliding but also like jiggling my feet a bit and trying to slow myself down. So as I went down, it was mainly just trying to avoid a bunch of branches and boulders, and I did pretty well. The gorge is a 65-foot drop, so I made it about 55 to 60 feet down before this small branch that kind of arched up like your classic way to trip someone in a cartoon, how that's just something very easily and obvious you can trip on. My foot got hooked underneath that, and I went flying the rest of the way down. So I became airborne a little bit. A branch sliced at my head, and then I landed on my elbows for the last 5 to 10 feet. So, landed, they were shattered, of course. I was in a lot of shock. So now we're in the hospital, and this is honestly, it's easy for me to look back on this story and tell it now, but being in hospitals to this day still freaks me out. Like, I've been in a hospital twice this last year to visit friends, and like, it's so uneasy and unsettling just because like, I don't remember much because I was on Oxycontins and morphine and all these different drugs. But what I do remember is just like I didn't like it there. It's not a fun place to be. But I wake up in my hospital bed now, and they've got one arm in a sling and the other arm's right here. And they're like, so you shattered your elbow, you're gonna need surgery, which they're gonna do tomorrow, and everything. And I'm like, but my other arm, it's also shattered. Like I can't move. They're like, no, they took X-rays. I said your other arm's fine. And then they're like, so. We read our x-rays wrong. It turns out your left elbow is also shattered. And I'm like, oh, really? Obviously it is. So now I'm in 2 slings, just kind of like sitting there like this. And yeah, I had to get surgery the next day. I go the next morning, very early, I'm woken up, I go to surgery. So they're like, oh, it's a routine surgery, you're gonna be perfectly fine, blah, blah, blah. So then suddenly I'm awake and I'm in this room. And it's the first time waking up where there's metal in me. So I have metal pins and metal plates in each of my elbows now. And the earliest instance of having PTSD and like flashing back to what I can remember is when I was finally able to shower on my own. And that's just where it started, where every time I closed my eyes, I was in that free fall. I could see my feet, see the boulders, the trees, everything. Like, that's just what I'm seeing. But coming out of it, it was more like it was just immediately like crying and freaking out. And I couldn't cope yet. And really, like, she became a good confidant for me, where I was spending like most of my free time with her now. I was telling her about what was going on, and she was really there for me and just helping me like figure stuff out. And really, she helped me realize what I had to do. And then she said to me, you know, you need to find yourself new friends. It's high school. You gotta find like, you know, the people who are gonna be like your actual friends at the end of high school. And that brings us to this group of 3 people by the names of Corey Girardi, Katie Crivello, and Alexa Walker. And I started hanging out with these people and spending most of my time with them. They became the closest things that I think I will ever have to that friend family. You know, they mean everything to me. Been through thick and thin with them over the last 3 years. I fell in love with Katie, and we've been together ever since. So those people, like those 4 people specifically, including Ariel with that, are probably the people that really helped me pull myself out of there. And like every time I closed my eyes, I saw what happened. But just over those first few months of being with those people in my life, it started to fade and I was okay. And now I'm at a point in my life where I can talk about it freely. I can sit in front of this camera and not break down.